All right, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you today about what I do for a living and how God has opened my eyes to see Him working in our lives in ways that mirror the work that I do with horses. I'm a nationally certified equine massage therapist, and every day I work with horses that are tight, sore, injured, or stuck in patterns that are limiting their performance and causing them pain. My job is to assess what they need and use different techniques to bring relief, healing, and restoration. As I've grown in my faith and in my profession, I've begun to see something remarkable. The way I work with horses is very similar to how God works with us. Just as each horse needs different techniques at different times, sometimes gentle, sometimes more intense, always purposeful, God uses various approaches to work out the knots in our own lives and restore our spiritual circulation and bring us to a place of health and freedom. All puns are intended. They're in their special. So this morning I wanted to walk you through 6 massage techniques that I use on horses and show you how each one reflects the way God ministers to us through Scripture. Some of these techniques are gentle, some are intense, but all of them are designed with a purpose, healing and restoration. I've brought Georgia with me today, and as we go through each technique, I'll demonstrate it on her so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Mila will be reading the scriptures and passages and explaining the Bible connection, and Jeannie will be keeping Georgia under control. Okay, so let's begin. The first one is called effleurage. It's a fancy French word, so we can all feel real smart saying that. The first technique, effleurage uses a flat, open hand with long, continuous strokes, and this is how I introduce myself to horses before I begin. It gives them an idea that I'm going to work on them, and I use it at the beginning of every session. So these strokes are gentle and calming. They are also diagnostic. They give me an idea of what the horse needs as my hands move over Georgia's body. I'm able to find tight areas. I can feel one. Sensitive spots and identify possible injuries. The horse is learning to trust me, and I'm learning what they need. This technique is about gentle introduction, beginning slow, building trust, and careful assessment before doing any deeper work. All right. So, soft, warm, generally on cold days, I try to warm it up a little bit. Flat hands, one over another, so I start high. My hands are gathering information as I go, okay? So one over another, she's tight here. Are you? Yeah, you are, okay. Tight here. Down the legs, so I'm gonna do that down the whole part of her body. Okay, go ahead.
Now, let me show you the same pattern in Scripture.
Can you raise your voice?
Yes, I can.
I got it just for you.
After Jesus was crucified, 2 of his disciples were walking away from Jerusalem, completely devastated. All their hopes had been shattered. Jesus appeared and walked alongside them, but they didn't recognize him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. That was from Luke 24:17. Jesus didn't announce who he was or overwhelm them. Instead, he walked alongside them, asked gentle questions, and listened to their pain. He gradually taught them from the scriptures, helping them understand what had happened. Luke 24:32 says, they asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" By the time they reached their destination, they trusted him enough to invite him to stay. And when he broke bread with them, their eyes were open and they recognized him. That's effleurage. Long, gentle, continuous engagement that builds trust and assesses what's needed. Jesus walked alongside them, listened to their hurt, gradually introduced truth, and prepared them for revelation. Just like Aaron doesn't demand a shut-down horse immediately respond to her, Jesus didn't demand these shut-down disciples immediately recognize him. He gave them time, gentleness, and patient care until they can open up again. We also see the same technique in John chapter 4. when Jesus met the Samaritan woman at the well. She came at noon, an unusual time, likely avoiding others because of shame. Jesus started with the simplest request: "Will you give me a drink?" He built rapport gradually, never shaming her, just gently revealing that he knew what she needed. By the end, she ran back to town as an evangelist. Effleurage, a gentle introduction that makes transformation possible.
Good. Anyone else want to try effleurage? Oh, there we go. There's a release.
Hey kid, how you doing? Can I catch you? Can I love on you?
You guys see how that's the approach you want to take with a horse right off the bat? Before you go into them. So sometimes when I walk into a stall, the horse gives me an eye and goes, "I don't want to have anything to do with you." Okay? So you have to go in slow. You come in hot, you start banging around, it's not going to go well. They're going to be tense the entire time, which is the opposite of what I'm trying to do. This also gives your hands tell you where their body's tight. So as you're going along, I already found a couple places I'm going to need to work on later.
And doesn't this all, I've told people too that what you learn from a horse you can apply to a dog.
Oh yeah. And a husband too. Don't tell my husband that though. So that's effleurage. All right, the next one we're going to do is called compression. So this is the next technique. Compression is a rhythmic pumping action used by the palm or heel of my hand. I call it knead the dough because I'm a little more of a simpleton. The technique is more intense than effleurage. When you see me do it, you'll see that. But the rhythm gives this give and take that helps the horse handle it. Okay, so you're increasing the intensity, but you're able to remove it so that they can handle it. This move relaxes and spreads compressed, tight, unhealthy tissue and restores blood flow to an area. It also alleviates muscle spasms that pop up and cause trouble and pain. The key is the rhythm. It's not a consistent crushing, but waves of pressure that allow the horse to breathe and adjust between the cycle. So when I'm doing compression, generally it's going to be on the neck. If the horse is built like her, I can do it on the shoulders, not so much the rib cage, obviously, that doesn't make sense. A lot on the glutes, okay? Now, every horse is built different, just like every person's built different. So if you have a really long, lean horse, the compression's gonna be a little more shallow. If you have a really muscular horse, quarter horses, Andalusians, draft horse, you're gonna be doing a lot of this, okay? So I do it knead the dough. I have a little twist that I add to mine. So I go here. Oh, did you notice the change in intensity? The head went up. Okay. So I'm going to press and give. Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Use your left hand.
Yes,
Use your left hand. So
Yeah, Mom.
I'm pressing and giving. Press and give. Okay. You can go along the back, but the best is the glutes. And your horse's glutes should jiggle. So I have a sticker that's a horse head, and then underneath it says jiggle jiggle, okay? Because you want everything jiggling by the time you're done, okay? So you're going to do compression, and that's going down into the muscle and pressing up. Okay?
All right, let's see how compression parallels in Scripture. So when God called Abraham, he didn't give him one test and then leave him alone. Instead, God walked Abraham through challenges over decades, each one building on the previous one, like rhythmic compression. First, leave your country and your father's house. Abraham obeyed, and blessing followed. Then, a famine hit right after he arrived. Press, but God protected him through it. Release. Then, years of waiting for his promised child. Press, but God kept reassuring him. Release. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him, says Genesis 21:5. Finally, at age 100, Isaac was born. The promise fulfilled. But then came the ultimate test. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about," from Genesis 22:2. The deepest press of all, but Abraham obeyed. And at the last moment, God provided a ram and stopped him. "Do not lay a hand on that boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld me from your son, your only son." Complete release and blessing. That's compression. Rhythmic pressure over Abraham's entire life. Press and release, press and release. Each cycle going deeper. The give and take made it bearable. Between each challenge came relief and reassurance and confidence. We also see this when Jacob wrestled with God all night long, literally pressing and releasing, grappling back and forth. It was intense enough that God dislocated Jacob's hip, but the rhythmic nature made it bearable. By morning, Jacob was transformed, limping but blessed and ready to face his past.
So I can tell the side of her body's tighter, so it's kind of bugging me. Yeah, her rib cage is tight on the side. All right, I'll get it later, Georgia, I promise. She's like, "I've been neglected." Okay, so that was compression. Is that better? So what I look for when I'm massaging horses is there's physiological releases that they have. So a lick and chew is one, a yawn is another, throwing their foot out and rubbing their face on it is another, coming around and biting their rib cage is another, putting their head down and biting their legs is another. Okay, so really big breaths out is another one. So that's where tension in the body has been released, and that's the physiological response you get from it. So with Stoic horses, which is, she's the poster child for Stoic horse, I have to give her space and get out of her space in order for her to release and actually absorb the work I'm doing. With your more extroverted horses, I have one in my house named Chester. He's an Arabian. He just wants you up in his face, you know, loving on him all the time. He doesn't need the space that she needs. You know, another thing, she will stand tight at a trailer for 2 hours, not move a muscle and be perfect. Chester had been screaming his head off out there. So there's pluses and minuses of each personality. Okay. Percussion. This is one of my favorites. Percussion is use of rhythmic impacts in rapid succession. This is more aggressive. It creates either a stimulating or anesthetic effect. I said that word correctly. It's a hard one for me. Depending on how it's applied. This is my go-to move when the softer techniques aren't working. When I need to go deep into the tissue and it won't respond to the gentler methods. Sometimes a muscle is so locked up that you need rapid, forceful intervention to break it up quickly. So there's a lot of percussion. There's this, which is my personal favorite. You can do tapotement, which is tapping. Okay, so you do that on the face and stuff like that. You can do pounds like this. This is what you'll see in TV movies, and don't do that. That doesn't feel good. It rakes your fingers together. Okay, so that anytime you see that in a movie, I want you to think of me and go, "Nah, that's not what Erin said." It doesn't feel good on your knuckles, so you will burn your hands out pretty quick. So my personal favorite is a backhanded percussion. Now this is obviously done on your more muscular areas. She's a muscular horse, so I'm going to do hind end. Slapping on the rib cage is really good for loosening up the intercostal muscles, and there's internal and external intercostals. And so when you slap the rib cage, what happens is it loosens those ribs up, and then they go, and sometimes they'll start coughing, or sometimes they'll do a really big blowout, or sometimes they'll shake, okay? Thankfully this morning, I told her last night, "Oh, you're so pretty and clean, thank you so much for not rolling." And then this morning I came out and she was covered in mud. So now you're gonna be, yeah, I know, you did, didn't you? You rolled in mud, didn't you? Yes, you did, you're special. So when I do percussion, you're gonna see the dust coming off of her. That's your fault, not mine. All right, so I do a backhanded pound. And this is, see how it jiggles? If it didn't jiggle, that's a problem, okay? So this is gonna break up a lot of that muscle. Oh, she said, yeah, get in there. Did y'all see what she just did?
Yeah.
Okay, so she was standing on that leg, percussion, and then she was liking that, so she took the weight off the leg, which loosens the muscle, and I can go deeper. Okay? So if she were to change her weight and then stand on it, she'd be like, ooh, that's too much. Okay, so you have to listen to the body cues that the horse is giving. Cocking it now. So she's saying, yeah, go ahead and get in there. I need that. Yep. And I just adjust depending on what they say to me. So if she didn't like it, she is a little tender, huh?
Probably all that rolling in the mud.
Yeah, she was like, well, I had to run away from you earlier, so there we go. So you just kind of adjust how you do the percussion.
Let's see the percussion pattern in Scripture. Saul was violently persecuting Christians, breathing out murderous threats, dragging believers from their homes, approving their execution. He was on his way to Damascus to arrest more followers of Jesus. Gentle whispers weren't going to work here. Saul was deeply locked in self-righteous conviction that he was serving God by destroying the church. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Acts 9:3-4. God used percussion, rapid impacts in succession. Blinding light, voice from heaven. I am Jesus, who you are persecuting. Struck blind. 3 days with no sight, no food, no water, continued impacts. Then Ananias came and laid hands on him. Immediately something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He got up and he was baptized. From Acts 9:18. This was rapid, forceful intervention because Saul's spiritual muscles were deeply locked in the wrong direction, and he was causing harm. Each impact broke up a layer of his entrenched self-righteousness. The percussion worked fast. Within days, Saul went from persecutor to preacher, becoming the Apostle Paul.
Yeah. Speak again, kid.
We see the same pattern with Jonah. Storm, thrown overboard, swallowed by a fish, 3 days in darkness, vomited onto shore.
Tried a little faster.
Rapid succession of forceful interventions because Jonah was running hard in the opposite direction.
I just love on.
We even see it with the story of Balaam. His donkey turned aside 3 times, crushed his foot, then spoke. Shocking impacts because Balaam's greed had made him spiritually blind, more blind than his own donkey.
She's like, two people. Oh! So we got a story of a donkey thrown in there. I just thought that was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
Come on, you
percussion?
guys.
So we had to adjust, because she was like, oh, that's a little bit too much. So we went from pounding to slapping. So you can do, your little backhanded pounds up here. You can do some slaps up there and see how it goes.
It's just fun to touch them. I'm living in High Point, and they have a lot of dogs there, cats and stuff.
You enjoyed rolling in the mud this morning, didn't you? Yes. When Mom wasn't looking.
Oh, she just took a breath. So she's a real mild horse. She doesn't give a lot of signs. Because I feel like the more dominant stoic red mares, they don't show signs of weakness, and releasing tension is weakness, especially in a herd dynamic. Okay, so she's not going to show. Do you guys see the breath? So I get excited about stoic red mares that breathe. Okay, when other horses are like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing you've ever done. Please keep going." Okay, you get a breath out of her, and you're like, "Okay, I've done it. I'm going home." Okay.
Mother, I hope I get goodies when I get home because I'm
Yeah.
being so patient.
She's real. She's been eating hay all morning.
Oh, all right.
So would you
I don't. I just get in there and get dirty. Yeah.
And then brush it.
It's hilarious that my clients, I work on very fancy dressage horses. These horses, you know, they are taken so well care of. And it's funny to me when I come out, the owners will be like, I'm so sorry, they're so dirty, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I could eat dinner off this horse. It's so clean, you know. So it's funny. Doesn't bother me a bit. Anyone want to do percussion? Well, let's wait and see what she says.
What now?
She's like, I'm always the model because you stand still. If I had other horses, they'd be like, let's go, okay, okay.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, you could drop the leader open, she'd be like, stand there.
Especially with finger handling.
Yeah, she's good. She's been around. I take her to the retirement home in Buckley, and I let the residents pet her, so she's funny because she doesn't really like a lot of physical touch, especially on her face. But she's so good. She's such a good workhorse that she's like, this is my job for today. Go ahead and touch me. So, she knows. All right, next move. That was percussion. It's one of my favorite. It's the one that people shy away from a lot because they don't want to pound the horse. But I'm telling you, if those muscles are tight and you don't do it, you're not doing them any favors. They really need it, okay? So that's percussion. Direct pressure. Oh, yes. Now I want to show you a very specific technique for stubborn knots. Deep or direct pressure. Deep or direct pressure means pressing directly on a knot or adhesion and holding it there for 15 to 45 seconds. When muscle fibers are stuck together and unable to slide properly, they form a knot. After I release the pressure, I use circular motion over the area, inviting fresh, healthy blood back into restoring the proper function. This isn't necessarily comfortable, okay? In fact, it often feels worse before it feels better, but it's necessary for true healing of stubborn knots. All right, let's move her back. So, direct pressure. Thank you. That's called a side pass. Some horses are better than so with direct pressure, there's something called a sliding filament theory with muscles. They slide like this. When they become unhealthy, damaged, overworked, or they get adhesions, it puts a knot in there, okay? So some of it can still slide, but there's a knot in one section. So when I find one of those, what I do is I come and I go, oh, you need to go away. And I press directly on it for 15 to 45 seconds. And this presses that adhesion out. That's why you have to hold it for a while so that it can restore. And then after that has been pressed out and flat again, I bring new blood into it by doing circulation circles around it to bring the circulation back, and then it slides again. Okay, so where does she have a knot? I'm not quite sure. Oh! Let's see. You can find them a lot of time on the glutes.
We rubbed her too much.
I know. She likes that though, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Tight hamstrings. Okay, so if I were to find a knot on her, let's say there's one right here, I would just hold and press. I normally just use the weight of my arms, okay, and I'll hold it. Now they teach 30 to 45 seconds in school, but I find that's overkill. It doesn't need to be done that long. There's the release. I'm gonna hold it a little bit more because I can feel the tissue needs to break up. Go ahead, Mila.
Now let's see this parallel in scripture. David committed adultery with Bathsheba and then had her husband Uriah murdered to cover it up. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a major, specific knot of sin. And David tried to hide it and move on as if nothing had happened. But God applied direct pressure and held it there. Nathan the prophet confronted David, and God's judgment was pronounced. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. From Psalm 32, verse 3 through 4. God's hand was heavy on him, day and night, constant, unrelenting pressure directly on that specific sin. David's strength was sapped. God wasn't letting up. The pressure stayed on. Things were getting worse before they could get better. The child born from the affair became ill and died. David fully repented, and finally, the knot was released. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast right spirit within me. From Psalm 51, verse 10. Create in me a pure heart, O God. That's the circular motions of grace restoring proper function after the pressure is released. David's relationship with God was renewed,
That was a big one.
and he went on to write some of the most beautiful psalms of repentance and worship we have. We also see the same pattern with Job. God held sustained pressure on Job through all his suffering, and the pressure didn't let up until Job saw himself clearly and said, I am unworthy. I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. Only then did God release the pressure and restore Job with double blessing.
Watch her eyes.
Yep.
Sometimes
You have to watch the eyes.
You can see where she's happy, and
Yep.
sometimes she's saying, "No, don't do that."
100%, Joni. That's so true.
With that big yawn.
I pay more attention to horses' eyes than anything else on their body.
I always paid attention to the ears too.
Yeah. Yep.
They can tell you a lot.
A lot. She's quite sore back here. I don't know if you guys are picking up
I
on
can
that.
see
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And actually at the top, like where your hand is on the opposite
Yep,
side
there.
right there,
Yep.
my mare has the same thing.
Yep, that's actually from the hind end. So I have a series, I do this for a living, obviously, you guys just know that. But I have a series called the Sore Back series, and it talks about the hind end. It's from the
But
hind end.
her sore spot is like just
It's sore,
just
yeah,
over a little
yep.
bit right there.
But
That's where that my mare's
It
is.
comes from the hind end.
And it comes there,
Yep,
but it's really tight there. And then she gets to the point where the farrier comes.
yep.
She does not want her leg lift
Yes.
up. So
So I also have a series called Tension for a Tight End, and I joke that it's the farrier massage, because I want you to do it before the farrier comes.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so because
Yeah.
well what we do is we have to stretch her out.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
That's
but
mostly what it is.
it's just that one muscle.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect her, she's not lame
Yep.
at all, but it's just sore
Yep.
there.
Yeah, I bet you'd find out if you were to rub back here that loosens up without you even touching it.
Well, I'm gonna go home and do that.
Yeah.
She'll be
You do that all
happy.
day, Mom.
Yeah.
I know.
But this is also an area she's almost always sore on this right hind.
Yeah.
You know, if she's gonna pick like my left shoulder blade's always the one that gets sore whenever I
That's
do.
It's the same with her.
Yeah.
It's always the
Yeah.
same spot.
Yep.
That exact same spot you're massaging,
Yep.
and when you go to
You guys see the trigger point?
yes.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where a knot or adhesion is close to a nerve ending, and then it shoots that referred pain over here.
Isn't it something
So you would do direct pressure right here. Get that to go away
for the
for the knot. You have to locate it up. There it is. Did you see it?
yeah, she dropped
Yep.
her back.
That triggers.
There it is. She
Yeah, look at it, you guys.
Yeah,
That's wild. That was a good one, I know, Georgia. I know. It's real tight.
Are you through, Mother?
Yeah, she's like, don't. That one hurts. Oh, it just gave out. I felt it under my fingers. There it went. Okay, bring that fresh blood back in. Yeah, this side she's significantly tighter. There was another trigger point. I just. I don't want
But
that
her breath is not bad.
I'm good.
Okay.
it's just hay breath.
Just hay breath. Yeah. It's a good smell.
All right. My hands are getting dirtier and dirtier as we go.
I know.
Okay, cross fiber friction. Now, let me show you a technique that feels very different. Cross fiber friction means applying pressure across muscle fibers perpendicular to their natural direction. Instead of working with the grain, I'm working against it. There's an aspect of digging into the fibers, spreading the fibers apart, when they become stuck. It can be intense, but it's necessary to separate what has become unhealthily bound together. I don't know if that's a word. Okay, so that's what I've actually been doing to get this to loosen up. So they really like it right next to the spine. The one part with cross fiber, if you want to know that you're doing it, you have to know the muscles. So I do have charts of muscles that show you where the muscles are. So right here is the medial gluteal. It goes down here. This is the hip joint. So the muscles go this way. So I'm going to go this way. That's cross fiber. The muscle of the hamstring, this is called the semitendinosus, goes down this way. So if I wanted to do cross fiber, I'd stand here and go cross fiber. Okay? All right, go ahead.
Jonah is a great example of cross fiber friction. God called Jonah to go to Nineveh. Jonah got on the boat heading to Tarshish, literally the opposite direction. Everything God did from that point forward worked across the grain of what Jonah wanted. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From Jonah chapter 1, verse 17. God sent a storm, working against Jonah's plans. Jonah was thrown overboard against his desire for safety. He was swallowed by a great fish against any natural expectation. 3 days in the belly against his comfort. Vomited onto shore against any remaining pride. Finally, Jonah went to Nineveh and preached. The entire city repented, but Jonah was furious about it. But to Jonah, this seemed very wrong, and he became very angry, says Jonah chapter 4, verse 1. His heart was still bundled with hatred, so God provided a gourd for shade, then killed it. More cross fiber friction. Still working against what Jonah wanted. God was working perpendicular to everything Jonah wanted. His plans, his comfort, his prejudices. God was digging in to separate what was unhealthily stuck together. Jonah's obedience was bundled with his bitterness. His ministry was bundled with his racial hatred. God had to work across the grain to loosen these things. We see this with the story of the prodigal son too. His identity was bundled with his money and independence. So God allowed famine, feeding pigs, hunger, all working perpendicular to what he wanted. The friction loosened the bundles until he said, I will arise and go to my father.
All right, anybody want to do some cross fiber? I bring out my rakes for this one. It goes deep. So I press, pull, because I want these fibers like this that are stuck, I want to go across and then down. Okay? So I bring out my rakes for that one. So as you can see, there's multiple muscles back here, so I'm kind of going through the top layer, getting that second one. There we go. So again, right hind, she's pretty sore, so she's got a lot. She's releasing a lot more tension back here as I work through it. Now, if I were to come back here and started right away with the cross fiber friction, that probably wouldn't have gone so well. She was like, I can't handle that right now. Okay. There's the deep as a breath. Thank you for breathing. It helps.
Well, don't quit.
Anytime. Okay. Anytime.
You do this every day.
No, not every day. I burn out.
But should you do it just for your own person?
No, I'm a professional.
So you go do it.
Yep. Yeah, I teach how to do it on your own horses across the country. So I've been to multiple. I go out to different clinics wherever people want me to come, and I do a lot of clinics here in Enumclaw, Ohio. People want me to come up to the British Columbia, so I'm excited about that. That'll be my first international. Just kind of waiting to get it set up.
So how often do you get kicked?
I don't get kicked.
Okay.
I pay a lot of attention to what they're saying and what they're doing. So it's funny because I do work back here, right? And who here has ever heard, never stand behind a horse? Everybody, right? Okay, and they're like, if you do stand real close or stand 8 feet away. Well, when I'm paying attention, like what Joni was saying, I'm always looking at their eyes. Their eyes are going to tell you they don't like something or aren't comfortable with something before anything happens. So when people don't pay attention, they get kicked. I have really honed my skills at only paying attention. So I feel everything and I see everything. So I don't even get kicked at. And one funny story, I thought it was just cute. I got a call from someone who I knew was a trainer, and she said, hey Erin, do you charge hazard pay for horses that kick? And I was like, no, but thank you for thinking of me. And she said, okay, well I have a horse that is kicking at the other massage therapist. And I said, okay. In my mind, I kind of thought, well, they're not paying attention, right? But you never know, every situation's different. So I said, well, okay, I'll come out and take a look at this horse. And so I come out, and I'm, in my mind, I had an expectation of this horse, and she brings out this tiny little reining horse. It's 14 hands. She's 15 too. 14 hands, named Cupcake. And I thought, she's kicking? Okay. And I also kind of thought to myself, she's afraid, like the other massage therapist is afraid of this horse. I'm like, okay. They're dangerous no matter what size they are, so,
Cupcake hates her name.
What's that?
Cupcake hates her name.
It's because of the name, yeah. She's like, don't call me that. Ah.
Warrior princess.
Yeah, she's like, I want something fiery. So it was funny because I started, and if someone tells me a horse kicks, I'm obviously even more careful. And so I start working on this horse. The thought of her kicking me never entered her mind. And I could tell that because her eyes. Yeah. She never thought about it. She never attempted. They give like multiple cues before they kick unless they're young. So young horses don't regulate their emotions as well. Or if they're in a lot of pain. Okay, so those are two things that if they're in a lot of pain or they're young, you got to be a little faster because they won't give as many cues. But normal horses give 3 to 5 cues before they kick at you, and it really varies from very mild to, don't, they kind of go like don't, or ooh, that's too hard, or something like that, to don't, to don't, to don't. They give so many cues. You shouldn't be getting kicked at. So, no, I don't get kicked at because I pay attention to what they say.
So did you help that therapist? I mean, did you have to get back in there and try it again? Or?
No, she just doesn't use her for that particular horse. And some people don't really have a background in horses. Like I kind of work with wily horses and just for fun, so I kind of learned those cues already. But yeah, they give a lot of cues if you pay attention, a lot. And that's what I do a lot in my training is I teach people the cues. I don't necessarily teach them the massage part, so yeah.
Well,
good question.
horses are like any other animal. If they sense something's wrong with that person,
There's definitely an energy for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely pick up on
Yep.
your energy. That's right. All right. Oh, petrissage. All right. The final technique I want to show you is petrissage. This is a firm kneading or squeezing of the muscle. It's a rhythm. Okay, so each squeeze is going to go a little bit deeper. You're going to start soft and go a little deeper. The important thing about petrissage is that it only works on small muscles. Okay, so squeeze this muscle. Yeah, you can. Okay, so it's going to work on your smaller muscles that you can actually get your hand around. Okay, each cycle works progressively deeper into the tissue. The rhythm allows the muscle to respond and relax. This technique opens and relaxes muscle, improves circulation, and loosens knotted tissue over time through progressive deepening of massage. Okay, so I use this on my favorite muscle you're going to find is really tight on a horse is called the brachiocephalicus. And it attaches up here to the wing of the atlas, it goes down the neck here, and it actually attaches to the forearm. So it's a pretty big, it goes over 2 joints. It's a pretty big muscle. So I'll use petrissage and do you see that? Yep. Now, there's one muscle belly right here, and there's one muscle belly right here. So I'm squeezing that particular muscle now. Let me get my hand around it here. That's it.
Careful, Mom.
I know. She's like, you're pushing it. Okay.
ears are back, very much so.
What did you say about never getting kicked? Okay, and then the other thing that I do is the legs. So legs get ignored in massage, in chiropractic, unfortunately they don't get ignored in veterinary, but by then something's wrong. So you don't want that. And then farriers, they're working on the hoof, so they don't work on the legs either. So this is the best thing you can do for horses' legs, is just massage them. Now there's no muscles from the knee down, but that doesn't mean we don't pay attention to it. Okay? Right.
Now let's see patrissage in the Bible. Years earlier, Joseph's brothers had sold him into slavery out of jealousy. But after many trials, Joseph became second in command in Egypt, and his brothers came begging for food during a famine. They didn't recognize him. Joseph worked on the specific issue of their guilt and hardness of heart, something small enough that he could get his hands around and work with. Watch the rhythm. He accused them of being spies and threw them in prison for 3 days. Squeeze. He sent them back home with the grain and secretly returned the silver. Release. He kept Simeon as hostage and demanded they bring Benjamin back. Squeeze. When they returned with Benjamin, he feasted them. Release. He planted a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Squeeze even deeper. But Joseph said, "Far be it for me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace," says Genesis 44, verse 17. The deepest of all, the deepest squeeze of all. Only Benjamin will be my slave. The rest of you, go home. This was the moment of truth. Would they abandon Benjamin like they had abandoned Joseph? Now then, please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come to my father.
Mom.
Genesis 44, verses 33 to 34. Complete release. Judah, the very brother who had suggested selling Joseph, was now offering himself as a slave to save Benjamin. The transformation was complete. They had been changed from jealous brothers who would sell their own family into united, humble, self-sacrificing men. Then Joseph revealed himself and complete restoration flowed. The kneading had worked. We also see this with Paul. God worked on the specific issue of Paul's pride and self-reliance through his ministry. Paul had a thorn in the flesh. He begged God 3 times to remove it, but God said, "My grace is sufficient for you." Throughout Paul's ministry, beaten with rods, squeeze. Miraculous deliverance, release. Stoned, squeeze. Got up and went back, release. Shipwrecked, squeeze. Healed the sick, release. By the end of his life, Paul could say, "I have learned to be content in any circumstance." The rhythmic kneading had made him spiritually flexible and strong.
So if you have a short horse, all you need to do, you just makes them a little bit longer. That decompresses the spine a bit, and they enjoy it. If it's snowy out, you can ski in the. No, I don't do that to you. I don't do that to you because you're spoiled. Yeah. So there's a person out there that teaches that the tail mimics the spine. So if you have a tail that's crooked or tight, the spine will be crooked or tight. I have not. I've been looking at that, paying attention to it as I work horses, and I haven't necessarily found that overwhelmingly true, but I find it an interesting idea. So what's nice about working on a lot of horses is that I get to test a lot of theories based off what people say. So she does have a tight tail. That's her tailbone right there, coccygeal.
Well, where's the end of the skin and the meat stop?
So there's the end of her tail right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Coccygeal can be from 18 to 22 vertebrae, and I'm pretty sure she has 22 because she has a really long tail. Some of them are shorter. But it could also mean that the coccygeal vertebrae themselves are long. I don't know.
I never realized a horse's tail was that long.
Yeah. Hers is long. I would say the average is probably right about there.
Wow.
Well, how many
Something
nerves
else
do they
I learned.
actually have in the tail?
Nerves generally. That's funny. That was on my national exam and I got it wrong. It made me really mad. They a lot of times they will pair up with the vertebra. At least for the ribs, for sure. But I don't know about the tail. So you can see how she's leaning into it now.
Do you have to trim her tail? Will it get so long?
I
that you-
wish.
Okay,
It's a
so
weak tail.
it will not
Some of them,
get that long.
no, some of them grow really nice. Hers, I braid it to try to get it
Okay,
longer, and
it's
it
beautiful.
doesn't work that well. Same with her forelock.
Yeah, there's not much
There's not much up there.
much up there.
My little gelding at home is an Arabian, and he's the pretty boy. He's the pretty boy. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. No, you're gorgeous. You guys see that saga?
She said, I heard that.
She does that.
I recognize that. I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah, you're still,
I'm
you're still
just
my
gonna roll
favorite.
in the mud and roll
Like, I don't want to talk.
I know what you said before, but I heard
You're still my favorite. Oh, this is a thick coat for her. Yeah, in the summertime she's thin, super, real slick.
Okay, I wondered
Yeah,
about
this
that.
is her winter coat. I try to get her coat to get thicker before I put a blanket on her so that she has insulation. Some horses get shaved because they work hard. Some horses work hard, and so they get sweaty, and so they shave them, and they have to keep a blanket on all the time. Okay. Is the conclusion? Are you doing the conclusion? All right, wrap it up.
Alrighty. So as we finish here with Georgia today, I hope you've seen what Erin sees every day in her work. God is a master therapist. He knows exactly what we need, exactly when we need it, and exactly how much pressure to apply. Sometimes he uses effleurage, walking alongside us gently, introducing himself, assessing where we're tight and hurt, building trust for the deeper work to come. Sometimes he uses compression, rhythmic waves of challenge and relief that work out our compressed faith and restore the circulation of trust. Sometimes he uses percussion, rapid, forceful intervention when we're locked in stubborn resistance and causing harm, breaking through quickly to bring transformation. Sometimes he uses deep, direct pressure, holding sustained pressure on a specific sin or issue until we finally release it, then flooding that area with grace and restoration. Sometimes he uses cross-fiber friction, working across the grain of our plans and desires, digging into separate, what we've unhealthily bundled together, loosening our grips on things we need to hold more loosely. And sometimes he uses petrissage, rhythmic kneading of specific areas, working progressively deeper with each cycle, improving our spiritual circulation and transforming us from the inside out. Every technique has a purpose. Every technique, when applied properly, brings healing. And every technique requires trust. Trust that the therapist knows what he's doing, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we don't understand, even when it hurts. The horses Erin works with don't always understand what she's doing. Sometimes they resist. Sometimes they brace against the pressure. But when they relax and trust her, when they let her work, they walk away differently. Looser, freer, able to move the way they were created to move. The same is true for us. When we resist God's work in our lives, we stay tight, knotted, restricted. But when we lean into his techniques, even the uncomfortable ones, even the ones that work against our natural direction, even the ones that require sustained pressure, we experience transformation. We become who we were created to be. We move in the freedom and power God designed for us. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. From Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Just as Georgia trusts Erin to work on her tight muscles and sore spots, may we trust God to work on our tight hearts and wounded spirits. He is gentle when we need gentleness, firm when we need firmness, and always, always working for our own good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Feel free to come on up and say hi to her.
I think you did well in the great job.
Hey, does anyone want to give her an apple?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to give her an apple? have to.